Hi, I'm Pam Carruthers of HealingStars.com, and this is a video about the Ring of Fire, an eclipse of the Sun that occurs in Virgo, the sign of Virgo, on September the 1st, 2016. It will happen at 10:03 British Summer Time. I'm located in the UK. In this video, I'm going to be showing you the Astronomy of Eclipses, what this eclipse signifies for healing. It's in the sign of Virgo, the goddess. See her on the right. What the moon's nodes represent. The spiritual significance of an eclipse is a very important day. And the Saturn square Neptune. This has been going on almost relentlessly over the last year. And I'm going to offer you an integration exercise to help. Now, the nature of eclipses. Eclipses are always a wild card. Astrologers can't predict. That's what that means, because it's a maverick. It's inconsistent. It's very stressful. It can expose hidden problems. They can be good or not so good. And chaotic and unexpected events may occur. This is called an annular eclipse. And external events that we haven't consciously caused, that's what might be happening. Now, either an eclipse, what's going on is that the Earth and the Moon are aligned with the Sun, and the shadow of one body, which is cast by the Sun, falls on the other. Twice a year at the new moon, when the Moon is in conjunction with the Sun, the Moon can pass in front of the Sun, as seen from a narrow region on the surface of the Earth. And this is what causes the solar eclipse. They're very important for world events, and that's known as mundane astrology. And often they're indications of earthquakes, big, floods, and anything very, very volatile is to do with the Earth herself. Now, the Moon is a little bit too far away to form a full eclipse of the Sun, and that's why it's called the Ring of Fire. So as I said, it occurs at 9:01 Universal Time. It's only going to be visible from Madagascar and some locations in Central Africa. It will also pass over the Atlantic and the Indian Oceans. So for most viewers in Africa, the eclipse will be actually a partial solar eclipse. And it begins at 6:13 Universal Time, and the maximum point will take place at 9:01 Universal Time. And this lasts for approximately 3 minutes and 6 seconds. So in terms of eclipses, that is fairly brief. They can last up to 6 minutes. It's an excellent day for meditation. It's excellent for going within. It's not particularly good to launch something at this time. It's never good to launch at a new moon anyhow, because the moon is invisible. So to be gentle with yourself is a key phrase. So it's at 9 degrees of Virgo, and it acts like an extra potent new moon. It's showing the completion of one cycle and the beginning of another. And the last solar eclipse this year was on the 20th of March, and that was at 29 degrees of Pisces, right at the end. Very, very tense. Eclipses are signalling what we need to change, so they act as a rebirth. The energy can last up to 6 months, and the degree of this partial eclipse at 9 Virgo is going to be ultra sensitive. They affect us personally if we have a planet within 2 degrees of that. So either side, which would be 7 up until 11 of Virgo, and also Pisces, because it's in direct opposition. You can also factor in Gemini and Sagittarius, because they are, Sagittarius is definitely involved in this. So if your birthday happens to be within 2 days of an eclipse, it's going to be a very important year for you with major life changes. Now that isn't necessarily a bad thing. A major life change, of course, could be something like having a baby or getting married. So in your chart, eclipses are formed by something called the nodes of the moon, and it's known as the axis of destiny. So the nodes stay in one sign of the zodiac for approximately a year and a half. I should say 2 really, because you have a north node and opposite you have a south node. So people born in that time span are your soul group. In approximately 18 years, 18 to 19 years, that cycle repeats. So people born about 18 years apart from you or me share the same lunar node sign. So they are also aligned to our soul group. And the nodes, which is interesting, they move backwards against the order of the zodiac. And they spend 18 months in each sign. And they're key indicators of places of growth, but also stagnation. And they're connecting the 3 primary astrological elements. So our habits and emotions, that's the moon, creativity and consciousness, that's the sun, and of course the place where we live, our earth. So from October the 10th, 2015, up until May the 17th next year, 2017, the moon's nodes are transiting through Virgo, that's the north node, and Pisces, that's the south node. So over this period of 18 months, we're looking at our health, healing, Virgo, and spirituality. These are in the spotlight. And issues of sacrifice can surface. More of that later. The stress and the pressure has been intense for the mutable signs of Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius and Pisces, because what's been going on from 2015 is that Saturn in Sagittarius has been forming a square, that's a very tense connection, 90-degree angle, to Neptune in Pisces. So this is indicating, squares will indicate a crisis but also action, which is needed for change. Now the symbolism of the nodes. And this is from the work of the astrologer of the last century called Dane Rudhyar, a prolific author and great mind. And he says as the moon reaches its north node and enters the area of north latitude, it's as if we were opening itself to cosmic or spiritual influences symbolically represented by the North Pole, and more specifically the pole star, Polaris. Thus, the North Lunar Node represents the point of intake of spiritual cosmic energies, and it was called the dragon's head, the nodal axis being symbolized by a dragon. And in this diagram, this is showing you the North Pole, and what you can see is the ecliptic pole is Draco. It's the constellation of the dragon, and it's guarding that point. You can see Ursa Minor there. You can see other wonderful constellations. Cassiopeia is up there. Lyra, Cygnus, Hercules is close. Coriolis, Borealis. And Polaris is now here because the Earth is spinning like a spinning top. So the North Pole star is no longer where it used to be. So the current pole star is still Polaris. And this is an image of it. Beautiful image to meditate on. It's the spiritual center because it doesn't turn. It's the still point. That's what occurs at the poles. So everything is revolving around, but not at the poles. So just think about that. This is our spiritual center, and it's deep within us, each as an individual. Also, what's happening at an eclipse is it's stimulating the pineal gland. And the renowned astrologer Stephanie Austin says that an eclipse realigns the Earth's electromagnetic field and our own individual energy field. Eclipses function to delete old programs and upload new templates. Are you ready? They mark the ending of this 19-year cycle, the beginning of a new direction. So eclipses will stimulate the pineal gland, which is called the seat of our soul and our third eye. So this is a time of inner vision and creativity. Eclipses can facilitate awakening of our soul's blueprint. It's a very important point that she makes, and it's worth taking detailed notes on dreams over the next few days. So in the tarot, Virgo is the hermit, and so this eclipse is connecting us to this archetype. It's a beautiful image. The hermit is carrying a lamp, and it's illuminated by a star. And he's on a search on a mountain top for the truth. But notice he's looking within. His head is down, but he's holding the light. And he has this staff, which is also golden, and that represents the power of his will. He goes off to contemplate, to connect his knowledge with what he knows in his heart. So on a meaning, this is about us all at this time to search for deeper meaning, to focus on our personal truth, to look for answers, to be that seeker, and concentrate on what is important. It could mean the starting of a journey of discovery for you, and also time to devote more time to the spiritual, to meditation. And from his book on the tarot, Tatman says, the affirmation, I look within for the guidance of my higher self to elevate my moods and direct me to the light. So back to our beautiful Virgin, our goddess. She's the divine feminine. She carries the energy of Mother Mary. And Virgo sorts the wheat from the chaff and asks what is really important. So this is a month to focus on sorting and clearing what we no longer need. Especially important because this is an eclipse month. I recommend and have used the book called The Magic of Tidying by Marie Kondo. It's excellent because she says you look at every object you own and say, does this bring me joy? If it doesn't, you let it go. And especially I've let go of many, many books that I've never read. She said you buy them at the time. If you haven't read them, pass them on. It clears the space for something new to come in, of course. It's a very important time to be aware of anything that distracts you from your focus. Of course, the internet is the prime culprit in my life. I don't know if it is in yours. But distractions, there's so many in our busy, busy world. What's also important at this time is Mercury's retrograde, another indication of saying, let's go within, let's slow down, let's absorb every piece of information that we have collected over the last few months. It's also a very important time to listen to what our body needs. Virgo is an earth sign. And of course, the body is the temple of the soul. So it's a good time to recognize any addictions you may have. I know sugar has been mine. I'm absolutely tackling it now. So tackling any health issues that you may have, and it's an excellent time for detoxing. It's that right time of year to prepare. And very key, spiritually, psychologically, is this a very important time to let go of the past. So the eclipse in Virgo is opposite Neptune. I'll show the chart in a moment. It's opposite Neptune in Pisces. So it's compassion at its highest level for people we may never meet. It's the perfect time to heal deep spiritual wounds because Chiron is also in Pisces, and Jupiter is opposing it at this time. And also the important principle to know that we are all one. We are not alone. At an eclipse there can be fear, because it is of course a temporary but a time of darkness, of ignorance, of fear, the lowest vibration. And the ego will resist fear, resist change rather, because it's the fear of the unknown. Have you got that running in your life? Because we can fear taking chances. Safety and security can be the overriding issue. We can resist change, as well as input from others. We can find ourselves imprisoned by the world of the five senses and need to learn to fearlessly confront the possibility of crisis and change in our lives and our relationships. So the rulers of the nodes of the moon at this time, Mercury rules Virgo. It's now retrograde and exalted in Virgo. And Neptune is in Pisces, in its own sign. So an eclipse in your chart, relate it back to your chart. An eclipse is like a spotlight shining on the pathway of your life. So it suddenly flashes on and then off. So it's going to bring hidden patterns to the surface. Look at the house, which is the area of your life where 9 degrees of Virgo sits, because that's what's being activated. What have you shoved under the carpet, like this wonderful little ostrich here? Will you accept the challenge being offered by the events of the eclipse? Are you willing to make the necessary changes in your life that are being required of you now? And are you ready and are you willing to let go of the past? So this is the chart. It's set for London, but you can look at it as a universal chart. 1st of September 2016, 10:03 British summertime, London. What is occurring, it's been going on and on and on, is what is called a mutable T-square. And now the sun and moon are really bringing this to the fore. So here is the sun and moon at a right angle down here to Saturn, virtually exact. Mars is not far away, albeit it is further away now from that exact conjunction with Saturn. And then opposite we have Neptune with the South Node. It's a striking picture, and the red means crisis action is called for. Jupiter, almost at the end now, 28 degrees of Virgo. Notice Jupiter is opposite where the eclipse was in March, but it's right opposite Chiron. It's moving away, but it's still there. A positive is this trine, a flow of energy from the sun and moon in Virgo and Earth sign to Pluto in Capricorn, fellow Earth sign. And Venus is in Libra, her own sign that she rules. And notice how Mercury and Jupiter are very close together. When Venus, Mercury and Jupiter come together in the sky, in Vedic astrology is called a Saraswati Yoga, which is the swan. It's beautiful. However, because two planets are so close, Jupiter and Mercury, it's also called a planetary war. And we've been experiencing these over the last few days. You could well have noticed that. You could well have feel very exhausted, lots of ideas maybe, but can't articulate those. Once Jupiter and Mercury switch, which they will do very soon, a few days, then the life becomes clearer. It's easier to see the patterns. So Virgo is all about our health, and Pisces is our spiritual self. So this Saturn square to Neptune that's been going on for so long, the challenge that is represented here, Saturn is all about the real world. Neptune is the dream. So the challenge is to make the vision a reality in the real world. But however, have you sacrificed your own dream in order to help others? In other words, have you become a martyr? There can be a feeling of escaping responsibility. That's Neptune. He wants to daydream, he wants to escape, he wants to, oh no, I can't be bothered. Just, head under the duvet time. It can be a fear, Saturn, of control, which is also Saturn. There can be an idealization, that's from Neptune, of authority, but also undermining of authority. Neptune is the god of the ocean, so it destroys the land, it destroys Saturn. There can also be lessons for us to learn, that's Saturn, of purification, because this is in Virgo, and refinement. There can be guilt, that's Saturn too, and trying to make amends, which is Neptune. Caving in, if you've been feeling you're not able to cope, if you've been feeling overwhelmed perhaps. See, it's very tough, Saturn squaring Neptune, because Neptune wants us to lift ourselves up to the highest vibration, and Saturn is pulling us back down to earth. So you might be fearing the worst, but that is the imagination going over time. So the idea that I work with is always to integrate when two energies are in opposition or in a square. So here we have Saturn, a beautiful man sitting there in that card. Look what he's doing, building that wonderful wall. So there's hard work, discipline, effort involved. There's a structure and there's completion. But it can be also on the negative, resistance, procrastination. I'm guilty on that score. Stress, a lot of pressure and laziness. Wanting to chill out. And of course it's been summer, so there has been a good reason at times to just enjoy the sunshine. Neptune, on the other hand, it's the dream, it's the vision for the future, it's inspiration. Great art, great music, the movies are all the area of Neptune. It's about oneness. It takes us back to the ocean. And those beautiful images in this card, here's a unicorn, here's a mermaid, that magical world. But it can also be addictions. Self-medication is one expression I picked up recently. I thought, what is a very good expression for any kind of addiction. That can be the obvious, like obviously alcohol, drugs, but also addiction to Facebook, for instance. Anything that takes us out of our, this is it, this is the world, this is the here and now. So a lot of illusion can occur with Neptune, a lot of fantasies. So I'd like to offer you a very short, very interesting and very easy to do tool of integration. And you can do this with anything that is of opposite sorts, kinds. All you do, first of all, is if you take a deep breath and remain seated. Hopefully you're watching while you're sitting down. And all you need to do is just feel the ground beneath your feet and then open up your arms. Tuck your elbows into your waist so your palms are now facing up in front of you. So now I'd like you to focus one hand on Saturn. Now Saturn is heavy, give you a clue there, but Saturn, if you notice, all that hard work, all that effort, all that resistance. So how heavy or light does Saturn feel for you in that hand? It's a good idea if you want to close your eyes. Does Saturn have a voice, a sound? Lord of karma is Saturn, the planet with all the rings around it. It represents our boundaries in our life. How do you feel about authority? So give yourself a colour. Give Saturn a colour. And if you have a smell, it might have a smell, it might not. And then of course an image may come to your mind that represents this core principle of structure for you. Now in the opposite hand, I'd like you to focus on Neptune. So Neptune, god of the ocean, totally different. It's your dream, your vision in your life. So how heavy or light is that compared to Saturn? And what colour would Neptune be for you? Does it have a sound, a noise at all? Do you have an image connected to it, to Neptune? Does it have a smell? So now I'd like you to raise your hands so the palms are now facing each other. Still keep your elbows by your side. And know that your hands have chakras in them. So I'd like you to allow your hands to come together. So as they do, just look back to Saturn. What was the colour of Saturn? The image maybe, and focus on Neptune, the colour there, an image that you may have there. And just gently allow your hands to come together. Keep that focus on each of them. And then when your palms come together, then allow your fingers to overlap, intertwine, so you have both hands are joined. And now allow a third image, a combination of the two of them, to come to you. And then allow that combined energy to go somewhere you may need it on your physical body to support you. To support you in bringing your vision down to earth. To let heaven and the earth come together. So when you're ready, you can come back into the room. You of course might like to make notes, how that was for you and what you came up with as a combined image. And if it didn't work the first time, you can always watch again and do it again. So thank you for watching. Enjoy that eclipse, enjoy the energy. And I give coaching and I give workshops if you want to go deeper with this kind of work. And also if you're not on my list, please subscribe. I'd love you to be part of my community. So I'm Pam Carruthers, Soul Astrologer. Sign up at www.healingstars.com.